Thank you for joining us on dotEXE Air Flight number 7. I'm Eric Costa, and I will be your pilot for this evening's flight. Assisting as co-pilot today will be Saving Content's own Ed Acosta.
Thank you for joining us today.
It should be a smooth ride today as we fly over Conversationville. Remember to keep those belts fastened for the duration of the flight, as long as the fasten belt sign is lit. We should be reaching our final destination of Enlightenment Cove in approximately 1 hour. So relax, listen to some soothing voices, and as always, enjoy the flight.
What a lovely intro.
Yes, so that will make sense when we get to our catch-up as to why that was a very airplane-centric intro there.
Well, why don't we go ahead and jump right into it then? It's probably the biggest thing other than GT. So you've been gone for a week, and it's probably why we're also a day late.
It is exactly why we are a day late. We are recording this guy on the day we normally put it out. So that would be because I was on a vacation and went to go see some friends and family, which was lovely. Enjoyed seeing them and hanging out. I had to say thank you to the family members who opened the house to let us stay. Pretty short notice, within that week before we left. We kind of said, hey, we might as well, and they were gracious enough to help to let us stay.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah, it was fun. We enjoyed it. The time we spent there was great. The flights were fine. By the way, I've never flown before. This is my first flying trip.
Yeah, when you told me you were flying out there and everything, I was thinking, oh boy, this is first flight, and he's on multiple planes.
Yeah, so the flight, our flight pattern was basically we went to BWI, right? Flew out of BWI, then stopped and waited at Chicago, I think Midway. We didn't get off the plane, but then we went from
you went
Midway.
To Midway, Chicago?
Yeah, Midway, Chicago.
Did you see Ed Boon?
I did not. I actually made the joke. Des did not. Either she didn't get it or she didn't understand it. I didn't hear it, I mean. Either way, she kind of just ignored me.
It's like, but I want to go to Netherrealm.
Netherrealm. But from there, we went from Chicago to Seattle. Which
fun. You can go visit Microsoft.
Yeah, I think it was a 3 or 4 hour flight. I don't really remember.
Okay.
And then spent about 5 days there, and then we went from back. So we then left from Seattle and flew to Denver. Had a layover there, and went from Denver to Chicago. That we spent some time with relatives, and then went from Chicago to back to BWI. Now, mind you, when we got to Seattle, it was after getting in from that flight, it was a 3 hour drive from Seattle to our friends where they were staying in
Portsmouth?
Port Angeles.
Portsmouth? Port Angeles?
Something like that. I
the
can't
Port
remember
of
now.
Angeles?
Port Angeles. It was like basically where we were staying. If it was a clear day, we could see into Canada.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. So we got into Seattle, drove 3 hours up to go to where we were staying, and then drove 3 hours back to, after we were leaving, when we were leaving, 3 hours back to the airport in Seattle. And then when we got to Chicago, we had a 3 hour bus ride or like 2.5 hour bus ride to our relatives where they were in Wisconsin to then do another 2.5 hour bus ride back to Chicago. So
what an adventure. How was the bus ride?
Adventure. Bus ride was great, actually. Van Goler, something like that. Buses. Coach
Lost
USA
me.
buses.
Oh, okay. I had no idea.
They're they're more like a charter bus kind of esque. It was really nice. They had pretty good seats. They were comfortable enough where a 3 hour bus ride was not bad at all. And it wasn't really packed either way. So all the trip, like the flying, the travel fine. Then again, I travel pretty well. I like driving. I don't mind travel.
Mm-hmm.
What I did
Ditto.
mind was the airports.
Yeah. I had a feeling that was going to be your big, frustration, if anything. Not necessarily the planes, not so much the turbulence. It's going to be just the ridiculousness at the airport.
So I've always hated airports. When I had picked up some friends and exes at airports before, so we went to BWI, and people were, Dez and some other people were kind of making like justifications for why the security was upset or rushing or whatever. They're like, oh, it was an early flight, or there were just some people like that. Listen, if you're a TSA person and you're mean, I hate you. You are horrible.
Your
Sorry.
job is public facing. You should have a public presence. It shouldn't be,
Exactly.
oh, I am PO'd.
Right.
Also, TSA, it is literally security theater. So, take it for what you will, but they should really just get you in and out.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, if you are a TSA person or a security check person at an airport and you think you're an officer, you might want to step back one. Just for the sheer fact of I had never flown in my life, and like we got through it, and then we were following the same steps that the person in front of us was following at BWI because they had no signs to tell us what we had to do.
And that's on them.
And then the TSA person goes, what are you doing? Don't take your shoes off. Don't take the laptop out. What are you doing? Why are you stopping here? Go, 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 go. I'm like, what? That's what they did. So therefore I did what they did. And yeah, wasn't
what?
fun. Yeah.
Okay. So here's, whenever I've gone and flown, regardless of the airport, you get up to the conveyor belt thing to put, your stuff through the scanner, belts, shoes, everything out of your pockets. And yeah, if you have something big like a laptop, normally you pull that out. They'll tell you if you don't need to, but you pull that out. Like when I took my PlayStation 4 on a trip, I had to take that out of the bag. So I'm very confused why they would yell at you to not do that.
Oh yeah, because we stopped. We opened up the suitcase to take out the Switch, because that's the biggest thing we had, the Switch. And they go, what are you doing? You don't need to take that out. Put your shoes back on. It's like, but that, what? And the thing is, that was BWI. Every other TSA security check at every other airport that we did, belts, if you had any, which I didn't, shoes, and any electronics bigger than a cell phone.
Yeah.
Every other one did it. Mind you, every other one did it nicer and faster with the same amount of people. So it is possible you guys are just a-holes.
Or that particular guy or lady.
It wasn't just them. It wasn't that one person.
It was okay.
Every person from the point of where you put your boarding pass down at the beginning to the end where you picked up your stuff. They were like, you need to move, you need to go, you need to move, you need to go. This is taking too long. It's like, it was going to take me 5 seconds to take my shoes off and put stuff into the bin, but I needed to go faster.
Yeah, well, that's, their fault.
Well, yeah, I mean, they didn't, again, they did have a sign in one spot that Des saw that said any items larger than a cell phone, take out.
Right.
But
So
obviously they didn't want that.
Right. If they're telling you otherwise, that's on them. Again,
right.
It's on them.
Right.
You're just trying to do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. Well, so after security checkout, whatever you want to call it, TSA security, whatever. After that, it's a little calmer, but it's still messed up. It's still garbage. It's all like attempting to be universal when it's not, and they, call your flight, and then the people calling the flight are like, they'll start with, people line up pre-check passages or whatever line up, right?
Yeah, don't even start on plane boarding. That is another piece of discourse that's going on right now is what is the best way to board a plane? Everybody has their own ideas and most people are wrong.
So we did Southwest. Southwest is no assigned seats, right?
Right.
It's you pick your own seat, right? But
unless you're like first class.
Right, unless you're first class, which none of the planes we did had. Ones we did had the
priority seating.
Pre-preferred seating, and
the one where you could pay to basically get a better seat or better boarding time or something, right?
Right, which also lumped into that was like those with a wheelchair or need help moving and children under the age of 15, which that makes perfect sense to me. I get it.
Yeah.
You do you. They need to be safe. And then it goes to like the A, B, and C, and so on. The problem isn't that system. That system's actually not bad. A, 1 through 30, 31 through 60 or whatever, then B's the next set. That's actually not the bad part. The bad part, again, comes into play when it's the human that is trying to tell people to stand up and line up. Because logically, you would say, okay, those, on flight number so-and-so to such and such, that will be and continues on to such and such, please stand up if you are pre-preferred whatever and get in line, or you're set up or whatever. Problem is there's no like uniform like statement. So like there's not an IT statement, right? Which of all the places that you want like a uniform verbiage, that's where you want it. Because some of them would say the flight number, some of them wouldn't. Some of them would say where the flight's going to, some of them wouldn't. Some of them would say their gate, what gate they're talking about. Some of them wouldn't. So they're just talking and saying, okay, A 1 through 30, go ahead and line up. And then it's like, who is that? And luckily, me and Des, because we were heightened in stress, we like were paying more attention to the person's voice.
Right.
So we can kind of tell, oh, okay, that person is talking now. That's their voice, and they're at gate M2 or they're at gate C whatever. That's our gate. That's the person we need to pay attention to. But if you're doing what the airport is kind of trying to make you do and feel very relaxed and calm before your flight, you're not paying attention to that.
I've never gone to an airport and felt relaxed.
No.
Even the way I normally do it is get in, get past TSA, go find my gate, and depending on how much time I have, maybe go grab something and come back.
Yep.
But I'm sitting there in the chair by the gate for however long I'm waiting, usually about 2 hours.
Yeah.
Well,
Because
I try to get there early.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we got most of them we got there about an hour and a half early. We did, like I said, that one layover in Denver was about 4 hours. So the last dinosaur.
Yeah. Can't hear Denver without thinking The Last Dinosaur.
Yeah. That was a good song. I mean,
good theme song. Yeah. Do a cartoon theme song ranking.
Oh, yes. That would be awesome.
It'd be hard.
We'd have to get Scott and Evan in that.
Yeah. We'll invite them, or we'll invite ourselves on theirs.
Just crash their party and be like, all right, we're going to teach you how to do rankings because you guys are always wrong.
I brought this list right here. This one says cartoons. We're gonna rank them.
That'd be fun. But yeah,
sorry. So
that was
you mentioned you took your
vacation.
Switch.
I did.
So were you guys continuing playing Arceus or anything?
Yes. Well, so Des continued playing Arceus, and that's because of that whole the Pokemon event. They released the whole thing about Scarlet and Violet, and there was like the code for Arceus, and you can catch the Shaman and Pearl, and that kind of thing.
Which I still need to go and do.
So that's basically what we did.
I still need to do the bonus well, I still need to finish Arceus, but the bonus content in Arceus, and then need to go get Shaman and Diamond, but I need to get, or at least seen 150. And I've only seen 147 because I haven't gone and seen the 3 lake ones. yet.
Yeah, that's what we ended up having to do too. We were like, wait, I've seen them all. And I'm like, oh, wait, no, technically we haven't encountered the 3. We just saw them.
Right. Then
So-
you can go past the guy in the cave and see Professor Oak and find the shaman and catch it.
Yes. Then, I'm not sure if I said this last time, but I found out a little while ago that the shiny charm.
You were saying it didn't work with the legendary?
It said that it may not work with the legendary. But there's still no confirmation that it does or does not that I can really get online. But on top of that, it doesn't matter anyway because I had to finish the national Pokedex to get
before you can go fight him again? Oh, no. To get the charm.
To get that charm, I have to finish the national Pokedex. So I'm going to see all of the Pokemon in all of the world before I can even think about shiny.
But that's the national dex.
Yeah.
So that's all Pokemon, all 500 or 400,
Plus
whatever number that they're up
like
to.
that, isn't it? I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah, I have to see every single one that is in the game. That's considered in the game. So I'm
if it's coded in the game, you need to see it.
I'm pretty sure all of them are in Pearl and Diamond, but I'm not 100% sure.
Maybe not. Alolan form?
That's a good point. I don't think. Yeah, obviously. Well, I don't say obviously. Those are probably not because those are technically after what have been Diamond and Pearl, right?
Yeah. So I actually don't know if it's taken into account any Pokemon after the game had been set.
So yeah, that's what we ended up doing. All the Pokemon stuff, but I know that GT7 came out, and I've been trying to get that. I got it from I have it from GameFly shipped to me, but it hasn't come to me yet. But I know you have it. No, it hasn't. It's not here yet, and I'm so upset.
I thought it came already.
No.
Because before I had left, you said it shipped. So I figured by the time, today rolled around, you'd have it.
I figured the same thing, and that's why I'm upset, because you have it and I don't.
Well, that's because I bought the digital version.
That's true, too. But I want to hear how awesome.
It's good. I mean, okay. So Gran Turismo already has its own atmosphere and feel. Like, if I were to describe, we'll put it into car terms. If I were to describe it in car terms, the way Gran Turismo drives is very tight. Mm-hmm. Cars are not very loose until they are loose. Whereas Forza is more like the cars are constantly loose and occasionally will get tight. So it kind of got that, it's a different feel. And you kind of got to get into that mindset when you start playing a Gran Turismo game. Otherwise, your car is just going to run into the wall every time, and you're never going to brake hard enough.
Right.
Once you get that down, though, then it is like the training wheels came off, and you just remembered how to play. It is nice to be able to go back to a map and having that, I was mentioning it a lot in Assetto Corsa, how it was very mechanical, very dry, very like robotic almost. And GT does the same thing, but with flair, is the best way I can put it.
Is it like zhuzhed up a little bit or something?
Well, maybe a good way to put it is, GT Auto is back in the game.
Okay.
And what you can do in GT Auto is obviously the car wash and changing the oil and everything like that. So that's there, but you get a nice fun little animation of them doing whatever. And like you can add wide body kits. I use kits in quotation mark because all the animation is like these pit crew guys pulling out your fenders.
Oh god.
And you hear the little like, right? And you hear like a what's the word I'm looking for? Not a squeak, but like you're pulling something.
Oh, like effect. Yeah, like a stress.
Yeah, like a stretch, like a stress, like a stretch, something like that.
Yeah.
But it, it's kind of got that a little bit, and it's menus upon menus, but they're not just like Excel spreadsheet. There's actually some thought went into them, and
Okay.
one of the things that I'm really enjoying is in previous Gran Turismos they just give you like the different tracks or the different races, and it's like, okay, here's Sunday Cup, with these cars, here's the Autumn Ring Sunday Cup, or et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, very grid or like ticket like, right?
Yeah, you see the different race events, you go do the event, you earn your money or your car, and you go to the next one.
Right.
GT7 will do the same thing, except they have this cafe now.
Yeah.
And in the cafe, basically what it's doing is giving you objectives to complete.
Ooh.
And so like the first couple are basically go and collect these 3 cars. Okay. Well, how do I collect the 3 cars? Well, here are 3 races we want you to do. And by winning those races or finishing in the top 3, you will unlock that car.
Ah.
So once you do those 3, then you head back to the cafe, turn in your menu, and then the host of the cafe will talk about the 3 cars a little bit, and kind of like a little history lesson. GT really leans into the history aspect and the car culture stuff. Not only is it a racing game, and it focuses on the racing, it's really all about the cars and the culture. So there's no dealership per se. They call it brands. And you can go check out the different brands that are in the game, which also include like Michelin and like some other like random stuff that you don't buy anything from. They're just there, and you can go get a little history lesson.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess they're racing centric, or
Well, yeah,
Michelin
I mean,
tires and stuff like that. But that's weird that they'd add a brand without any
there's
kind
no
of purchasing or
yeah.
adding to it.
So it's not a dealership section where you go to like Ford or Honda or Chevrolet and buy the car. That's there, but I guess when they add stuff in the future, they can also add these random brands in there, and you can learn about them.
Yeah.
So with each of the different auto manufacturers, you can go to their showroom, check out the cars, buy them, whatever. But they also have like a little history section where you can learn about certain brands and get like a timeline of like their entire history, which is really cool. One of the weirdest things is they also have this like video section, and the videos aren't in the game.
What?
Most of the videos that I've come across are links to YouTube videos, like
Oh, that's
actual
weird.
YouTube videos. So the few I've watched, I haven't run into like any ads. So I'm wondering if the game itself has some sort of ad blocker built in, or if the manufacturer who is, letting GT put these videos in their game has turned the ads
Off with it. Well, I guess
because
well, it doesn't tell you the link, does it? It just goes to
no,
Yeah, okay.
it just it boots it up. So like as an example, I went to the Ford one and watched them do like I forget what it was, like 25th year anniversary of like a Fiesta for rally or something like that, or maybe 10th year.
Right.
And it was a cute little video of the car driving around, kind of doing like a gymkhana type of thing. But when it first booted up, it's like, oh, this is streaming, because you could tell the bit rate was bad. You could tell that it was in a lower resolution. Then it eventually picked back up.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, so you're streaming this video. And it wasn't until the end that I noticed, oh no, this is a YouTube video.
Huh.
Because you could see some of the YouTube like UI.
Yeah.
And right before it gets to the part where normally there would be like, hey, we want you to watch this video. Here's one that we recommend to you. Subscribe to the channel here. It doesn't show any of that stuff, and it cuts off.
Huh.
So it's like, oh, Oh,
That's weird.
it is. Like, I can understand not wanting to put that in the game for
To
space reasons.
Space reasons, right? Oh, you know what? That probably is the biggest thing because the PS4 I heard is like 2 discs.
Sure, I believe it.
So I mean, already trying to save space.
But they have servers.
That's true.
They could have
They could
hosted the
host them.
videos themselves and controlled the, the output. Because it's not a good look when, well, one, you're streaming from YouTube and you can tell.
Right.
But two, when it comes in and it's like running at 480 for,
Right.
a couple, I'll say a minute or so before it picks up and it's 1080 again. So, and it's just odd.
It's a weird choice. It's a very weird choice.
Yeah.
I don't know what aside from space saving, what the bonus to that would be, even for like money or what I mean, like licensing or anything. I don't see what the bonus would be for.
I mean,
that.
for the manufacturer, I'm sure it's more views for their YouTube video, but for
I
for-
guess.
Polyphony, I have no idea.
Polyphony,
It's just got to be space saving on their part. They don't care otherwise.
true. Which is funny because they're pretty known for putting like the utmost care and detail into like every facet of their games.
And
It's just so out there.
Boy, you can tell. Like, this game runs at 4K 60. And regardless of if you do performance mode or ray trace, or what they call ray trace mode, or prioritize ray tracing,
Right.
the actual game itself runs at 4K 60.
Really?
So when you go to actually set which one you want to choose, what you're actually choosing is, okay, in replays and in any other form of ancillary visuals.
Mhm.
Do you want it to run at 30 frames per second with ray tracing on, or do you want no ray tracing but at 60 frames per second? Regardless of what you choose, the racing is no ray tracing, 4K 60.
Dang.
And from what I can tell, that 60 is pretty dang solid.
And but that's awesome, but it's not surprising to me for Polyphony, right? Or Polyphony. I've never
Polyphony.
known how to say it.
Polyphony Digital.
Polyphony Digital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
That's not surprising.
It's smooth and it looks incredible.
Well, yeah, there was a few videos that I've seen online of people like, hey, here's the lap around this track. Oh, by the way, this is in GT7 on PS5, not real life. And you're looking at like, oh, geez, that's. Have you not said anything? I may have been able to tell later or every once in a while, but just by a quick glance or a few seconds of the video, I would never have known.
There are certain parts in this game, not while you're racing. Now it looks good, but it looks too good, if that makes any sense.
Too clean, not too much color. That's one thing I've always seen about simulation games is that they want to make it look really good, but there's too much color a lot of the times. It's not as muted as it should be.
It just looks too good. I mean, that's the best way to put
Too
it.
crisp.
But there are times in the replays, or what they call the scapes.
Mhm.
Scapes are kind of like a background with the car, with kind of where you take pictures. There's also animated scapes where the car's moving past these things. And there are certain times where you look at it or just take a brief glance at it and you're like, am I looking at a real photograph? Am I looking at real video?
Right.
It's crazy how good this game looks.
I'm so upset that I haven't gotten the game yet.
I am already through all golds on my licenses except the super licenses.
Right?
Boy, some of those
Hard?
are, yeah.
Dang.
Well, hard. No, I'm not going to say hard. I'm going to say frustrating, because you know that you can do better.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of those where it's like, oh, I know where I messed up. I just need to do it better. It's doable. It's not like it's not like you see the time or you see the preferred line ghost or whatever, and be like, I can't do that. It's like
You're just
Oh.
a few milliseconds out, and you're like, if I just didn't screw up with that one twitch.
Yeah.
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 Well, like, so my next question is, and I guess I'll figure it out too, but one thing I disliked about a lot of GT's sport, and actually just GT in general, was the licensing, just that specific part of the licensing, running the licensing, how long it actually took to do, like, you got through and you go, oh, okay, I didn't make it. Now I got to restart.
Oh, you're
Like
going to
that-
love this.
Is there like a quick restart?
Okay. You know how quickly you could just like hit start and then restart or replay for like Tony Hawk or something?
Yes.
Yeah. Like there were times where I was racing because you can turn on the preferred line ghost and your own best time ghost.
Right.
So I'd be following the better ghost, not me, the better ghost. And as I'm getting towards, the last couple turns, I see my ghost get ahead of me. Obviously, I'm not going to beat that.
Right.
So I hit start, I hit restart, and I'm back at the beginning.
Oh, thank goodness.
It is super quick, unless you hit the wrong button and go back to like the race menu.
But that's
And that takes like a second or two. Then you go back and you're fine. But yeah, restarts are just instant. Remember a couple weeks ago, I was saying like a perfect puzzle game is one that can just let you stop and start and just there's no load time in between. It's just this is that.
That's
So
that's the thing that has been missing out of just about every racing game where there's challenges.
With the the super fast hard drive that's in these PlayStations, it has really, really helped with loads in GT. There's load times, but I mean, it's like, a few seconds and you're in. It's not something where if you remember how like GT 6 and GT 5 were, where you would load something or you go to a car menu and you go pick like a car, you'd see nothing.
Right.
And then, 30 seconds later, your car slowly fades in.
Yep.
There's none of that. It's just everything's instant.
That's good.
Other
That's
than
awesome.
like the few loading menus here and there.
Right.
But it is not it's not frustrating to sit there and be like, come on.
It sounds like it feels more like what they intended for all the other games to be, that like quick paced but slowly getting into it. So like, kind of like how you would be in like a car. You wouldn't just run into the car. You would walk up to it, check it out, get into it. But then once you're in it, now you're in it. And now we're focused. Now we're getting ready to do what we need to do.
Yeah. I mean, it really feels like you're going back to GT 1 and 2.
Right.
With how quick things just load and how the frame rate pretty much sticks at 60. It's nice. I mean, it is a nice return to form for Gran Turismo. There are a few things here and there, like, the car list isn't great compared to like Forza.
That's what I hear, but then again, it's like
it's noticeable. We'll put that way.
Well, and I always give GT, and maybe this is just me being a bias, but I've always given GT a pass when it comes to the car list, because every GT game, no matter what game it was at the time, the comparable other car games with them, the cars they had more detail. They were just more detailed than the other cars in the other games. So like I always give them a pass.
I'm not faulting them for having such a small car list.
Right.
Well, small in grand scheme of things. Because of how well everything looks and how everything's like handcraftingly modeled, like to perfection almost.
Right.
It's just noticeable.
How
like, well, let me give you like, so in your garage, you can go and see the cars that you've unlocked, like a list of cars that you've unlocked. And you can sort it all different ways. One of the default ways it's sorted is by, I think it's by country.
Okay.
And on each of they separate each country, and you see a number, like 5 out of however many. And obviously Japan gets the most. Japan's
yeah.
like almost 100 some cars. But you get down to like, European, and it's, we'll say not European, because I think it's split up in like German, British, and everything. So like German cars are like the next, which is I think like 80 some cars. And then the American cars are next at like 40 or 50 some cars.
Okay.
So, I mean, if you compare that to something like Motorsport Horizon, it's a significant
significant
drop.
It's a significant difference. I think you think the same way, but I don't compare. Like, theirs aren't apples to apples.
No,
right?
No. I mean, when it comes to like the the car list and everything, I don't think so.
Yeah.
It's kind of a bummer that it's not as full.
Right.
But again, I can see why.
Yeah, but they have said that the intent is to add many more cars. They've said many more cars to the
well,
game,
I mean, GT Sport still was adding content for
up until
a very
last
long time
week or something, right? Or not last week. I think it was maybe last month.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, how have you been playing? Because I know you drive Forza third person most of the time. Are you driving in cab?
Okay, so I do make a distinction. Horizon, I drive in third person.
Oh, sorry, Horizon, not Ford. Yeah.
Motorsport, I drive in cab, and GT, I'm driving in cab.
So how do those in cabs look?
Oh, it looks so good. I mean, you can definitely tell that they put a lot of attention to detail when it comes to like texture. So, leather looks like leather. Carbon fiber looks like carbon fiber. Your vinyl wrapping around different things in the interior looks like it's soft to the touch. It's really incredible.
And one thing that it was never a big deal or breaker because it's just such a minute thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like since now almost all cars have a touchscreen kind of thing in them.
Okay.
Does that have any kind of, is it just a black screen or?
No. Well, it depends on the car.
Oh.
So some cars have some stuff on there, like the Mazda Demio, basically the Mazda 2 here in the US.
Oh, yeah.
That thing has a center console with just a JPEG on it.
Okay.
But there's this one license test with an NSX, which is actually after I was checking online for some stuff for GT. Apparently, a lot of people were having trouble with that test, which I was also having trouble with. Come to find out, the game, even on expert, will put some steering assistance on because
really?
Controllers and simulation games don't usually go well together.
Yeah.
A la like a set of course of I mentioned last time. So what it was doing is preventing your car from overcorrecting and spinning out. What I had done, and I found out other people were doing this afterwards, is I turned that off, or at least toned it down to weak, and my car could actually turn more. And the license test was doing the hairpin turn at Suzuka.
Oh, that's a fun one.
So if you're familiar with the track, there's a few like S turns and everything. Then you're going up a hill and you're going down. Make a small little hairpin, but it's not really that bad. Then you go down a hill under a bridge, and right after that, there's a right, and then you have to hit the brakes because there's a hairpin right there. It's like a 90-degree hairpin.
Yeah, that's one of those tracks that we play a lot.
Yeah.
It's a fun track.
So it was hard to get the timing right until I turned that off. And then I was able to turn the car more. So when you get to that point, or, just check your settings.
Yeah. I
Because they don't tell you that it's on per se.
I might just change that at the beginning and drive with it like that.
Yeah. I had, because it gives you the option, okay, what difficulty do you want? And I just chose, middle of the road, what they want you to have. And I don't remember if it actually had an option for like assistance at the beginning. But you can easily go in there and change it at any time. You can change it on the fly if you wanted to. So our topic today actually covers a little bit about that. But I want to mention one quick thing about GT that I don't think anybody's actually really said anything about yet. And that's how it is almost blatantly obvious they want you to spend money to buy credits.
Yeah.
So in previous GT games, you sit there and grind to earn money to, buy better cars. That's not new. What's new is that you can actually buy credits for the game, kind of a la shark cards in Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, and I hear that they're not cheap.
No, I didn't check the prices on those, but so there are cars in this game that are expensive. And the first however many races, the payout's not great. Like, I think the highest payout I've had so far is like 50,000.
Ooh.
And there are like weekly specials or something along those lines where I have this icon, kind of like a notification icon on your phone, that's popped up on the brands. It has a little purple like envelope. And what that's basically telling you is, hey, there's a special limited time promotion running right now on these cars. And they're cars that aren't normally in the menu.
FOMO.
So yeah, they're trying to get the fear of missing out and trying to get you to pony up money to do that.
So can you replay races to get credits?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was one thing that
GT
was never really good with. Once you beat the race on some of them, you could re-race it, but you wouldn't get credits, or you would get less credits or something like that.
So I haven't run into any yet that are like that. Everything that I've done, you could race again and get the same winnings other than the cars.
Right. Other than the cars.
Speaking of cars, the used car lot is back. And that's really cool to go through. Mileage affects everything. Oh, okay. So mileage affects everything in this game. So you go to the used car lot, you'll find mileage on those cars. And in your tune-up shop, there are two things in there that make me think, oh, they definitely want you to spend money. There's a engine rebuild.
Yep.
And then there's like a car, like a chassis tune-up, or I forget what it is, but basically like, hey, we're fixing up your car back to new.
Oh.
So not only is there like oil changes and car washes to keep your car clean and to keep your car engine running good, you have meters on your engine and you have meters on the car body performance, whatever. If it gets too low, you have to buy a new engine.
Oh. So it's not like an engine swap, like to make it, not just an engine swap to make it more powerful.
Now, I do think those are in there. I think there's a roulette system, which I know I'm bringing up even more stuff about. So there's a roulette system that unlock like tickets for, kind of like the super spins and the wheel spins and everything in Horizon.
Yeah.
So you see, you redeem the ticket and you see 5 icons pop up on screen, and it just rotates through them, and it'll stop on one of them. So far, all I've ever won is money.
Because they know that's what you need.
Oh, yeah. Granted, yes, it's what I need. But it only ranges from like the minimal, like 5,000. And the highest one I've gotten so far was like, it's like a load of cash or a load of coins. And it's only like 30,000.
Oh.
but I've seen pictures online of like gold bars, so I know it gets higher.
Oh, it gets higher than that. Okay.
But all I've gotten is cash. I've seen cars. Usually one car is in that list. There are car parts, and I've seen engine crates.
Oh.
So I'm wondering if you can unlock different engines for these cars, like engine swap.
Right.
I haven't won it, so I don't know.
That'd be cool.
But yeah, so like you can tell there's degradation on your car. So if you don't have the money to rebuild it, you're going to have to either grind it out or pony up some cash, some real world cash.
Well, I'll be grinding it out. I don't pony up cash. I don't do microtransactions.
So I had some other things I wanted to talk about, but we're kind of getting long here. Just real quick, I've been playing around with the Turtle Beach Velocity 1, the flight yoke. It's really cool little thing. I was playing a lot of flight sim with it, and I'm not a good pilot when it comes to like simulator. But it was fun taking a jetliner flying from the local airport here to the airport up by where mom and dad are at, just following the road and be like, oh, that's cool. That I know where I'm at. Yeah, I'm flying. Oh, I need to land.
That's gonna be much harder.
But yeah, the flight yoke, it lights up. It's got interchangeable little things for like warning lights and everything that you can put in. I never saw any of them go off, so I don't know if Flight Simulator actually supports that, but it comes with that type of stuff.
That'd be
it
weird
also has,
of all the games to not support that, right?
And it might just be that it's not actually coded into the game, maybe.
True.
Either that or I never actually did anything to warrant them to pop off.
Oh, that's a possibility too. Maybe what you're saying is you were awesome at flying and you had no warnings.
Either that or the game's like, I don't even know what to do.
You're doing all the wrong things. I'm just not going to turn anything on.
But it's also got an attachment, which is this thing sets up really nice. It's two pieces. It's the main yoke, and the yoke actually has a magnetic lid that you can open up, and you've got an Allen wrench that you unscrew the feet so that you can put it on a desk, and then you just screw it back up, tighten it, and then the throttle control portion of it just pops into the side like a click. So when you're done with it, you just press the button on the back, that pops off, and then you just unscrew the little legs. So as long as you got space to store it, it's actually a nice unit. I'm just no good at flying. But I'll have a review of that one coming up. Me and you did two previews for Recipe of Disaster, Food Truck Simulator. Those are on YouTube right now. Both really, really neat games. I definitely want to play more of those, but go give those a watch. I think they're pretty fun to watch, at least. We deep fry some eggs.
Foie gras.
And we serve some Flora tomatoes. So
yeah,
go give those a watch. But like I said, we're running a little long, so let's just go ahead and get into the show topic. Like I mentioned, we were talking about accessibility with like the the steering options in GT. And why don't you go ahead and tell our audience what our topic is?
So, game difficulty, a design choice or accessibility option? More or less, is the game difficulty set by the developer, or not sorry, the developer, or the game designer, and should it be locked, or should it be accessible and changed and have like a slider and all that jazz? I don't know.
So
we're both kind of we were talking earlier, but we're both kind of in that like middle
right
now.
So when we were coming up with the question, what I'm thinking of is like, okay, the big discussion online right now is like Elden Ring. And okay, should Elden Ring be easier, quote unquote easier, or should the game be designed with more hand-holdiness so that new players can come in and enjoy it? Or is it something where no, the game designer needs to force you to play their way with their, difficulty? And I'm of two camps, because the designer, the people who are working on the game have an idea of what that game should be, especially in a story driven type game. The whole thing for Elden Ring is that, and Souls games in general, is that they want you to explore and they want you to learn about this stuff organically, and a little bit of, doing it outside of the game and learning with other people. But at the same time, that can be a real burden for some.
For a lot, not just some. I mean, it really is for a lot of people.
There's time aspect. Not a lot of people have the time to be able to put into it, but still want to kind of enjoy it. There's also the accessibility aspect. Maybe, for someone, they just can't do it that way. And it needs to be open so that they can. I mean, there's reasons why games need to have things like, colorblind modes, or they need to be able to service multiple control inputs for people who don't have full functionality. And then you've got one of the things this week last week was Horizon is adding sign language interpreters to their cutscenes.
Yes, I saw that.
So, yeah, granted, you get a portion of the screen is, kind of blocked now, but for someone who prefers to, I don't know what the best term is, but prefers to read through sign language versus,
subscript,
subtitles, that is great. Plus, I assume you get inflection with sign language versus just reading it.
Right. And that was a cool thing, but to me, I was that same, I get it, maybe. I mean, there's already the subtitles, so what is the interpreter doing? But that's the only thing I could get to is just inflection or maybe feel or something that maybe more than what the game can put into it.
It's like the voice acting, but visual.
Yeah.
But that's just accessibility itself.
But those are options accessibility options in general.
Yeah.
That obviously we do. Every game I think should have all. You should have all those options. But the question there is, does game difficulty, is that an accessibility option?
So, like we were both saying, I'm of two camps. You have a little bit of both. What do you think?
So I'm in that middle of I don't say middle, but I mean that both sides of I understand where difficulty can be used as a creative choice, and to show progression and to get you involved and that kind of thing. But I also can see the other end of it where it's someone who's just getting into it isn't, they're not going to get into it if it's too hard. So if you don't lower the bar a little bit, I'll say lower the bar. If you don't make it so it's less of a challenge, then they won't get into it. Or on the other end, or the farther end of that is the person just they don't have the reflexes or the ability to do this. It needs to be an option. But
and like I was saying earlier too, it might not. Maybe you do have the reflexes. Maybe you do have the skill. You just don't have the time.
And that was kind of where my next road that I was kind of going down was, as a dad, right? I work, full-time job, 3 kids, and a wife. I don't have a whole lot of time to play video games.
Right.
And I do like story-driven games, but when it becomes I'm playing this boss and I have to memorize the strikes and how they're attacking and at what stage I'm in, and a lot of the way the older games played, where it's memorize how the boss fights to then beat it. Well, the only way to do that is trial and error. And if a boss fight takes 15 minutes and I'm going, 2 minutes in, 5 minutes in, 6 minutes in, 8 minutes in, 14 minutes in, then finally 15 minutes in, that wasn't a 15-minute boss fight. That was a 30-plus boss fight.
Right. Depending on how many times you have to restart also.
Right. And then how many times you have to rewatch a cutscene.
Oh, yeah.
Which, that's annoying.
So, I can understand where it's part of the game to be difficult, but why would you want to keep people away from playing that game?
Right.
The one comment I hear a lot from your stereotypical gamer type of person is the get good.
Get good, get better.
Yeah, it's like, but not everybody has the time to do that. If everybody had unlimited time and the want to do so, I'm sure they'd have no problem getting quote unquote good.
Right.
But you want to be able to enjoy the game and enjoy the game in the zeitgeist with everybody else.
Yep.
But at your own pace.
Right. That's my thing is like, and I've said it with my kids plenty of times, and I get it from mom and dad, right? I would yell at the game, and you always laughed at me because apparently when I got upset with a video game, I got really funny.
Oh yeah, I agree.
I would make fun of the game, and you're sitting there going, that it doesn't hear you. It could care less. But yeah, our mom and dad would be like, my mom would come down and be like, if you're not having fun, shut it off. Right.
Yep.
And I've said that to my son and daughter a few times. It's like, if you're not having fun, if you're yelling at it and screaming at it and cursing at it, you're not having fun. Shut it off. Video games to have fun. Right. It's time for you to stop. I never threw any controllers that I remember. I know I never broke any controllers. So that was one step above some of our friends that we know.
So, there were a few license tests in GT where I'm taking it really good, and I just missed one little corner, and I see the ghost go right by me, and the first words that come out of my mouth are "Come on!"
Right? I think at some of those GT tests, I used the game's cheating.
Yeah, right. The game's cheating. But so, do I think difficulty is a design choice or accessibility? I think overall, in the long run, at the very end, as many of these little phrases as I can think of, I think it ends up being accessibility for me.
Yeah, I agree. At the end of the day, it has to be.
If you have to design your game to be difficult and it loses something when it's not difficult, then maybe there's something with the way you designed it, and it's not really. Oh, what is the best way to put this? Because I don't want to say that it's a fault on the designer, because it's not, because that's the way they wanted to design it.
Right. The intent was this. But
yeah,
if you can't slide the scale some where it is accessible and playable in a higher or lower difficulty, I think you've missed the purpose of a game. Right? Yeah. The intent of a game.
In the end, it needs to be fun. And with games getting as expensive as they are right now,
yes,
PlayStation 5 games are $70 by default.
I'm going to say this right now. I will not I love Sony. I will not purchase a $70 video game. It's not going to happen. It is not happening.
I did, but
well, that's you. That's not me.
Yeah. When you start getting in, and that's kind of what the site was kind of founded on to begin with, is a value versus, how good the game is type of thing.
Yeah.
We always put, how much do we think this game is not worth, but what if you were to pick up this game today, what would we recommend you pick it up at?
Right. And
there are some games that, more often than not now, because most tend to be in the right, sweet spot. A game for full price, pick it up. I've reviewed some games in the past where they're brand new games, and I'm like, don't buy this for $60.
Right.
So with games becoming 70 or more, like, shoot, the special edition of GT was
90, isn't it?
$90.
Yep.
And it didn't come with much other than, like, if you got the physical copy, you got the steelbook.
Which, I mean, that was all the rage in like the 90s.
Yeah, shoot, if I still had all my GT discs and everything, then I probably would have gotten the physical copy so I could show it all off. But I don't. So, okay, I'll get the digital one because who cares?
Right. At that point, you want the game.
Yeah. But, you're spending all this money. You want to actually be able to enjoy it. And you can't return games. I mean, there are certain like areas where it's like, okay, in Steam, you got 2 hours, but that's about it.
Right.
You can't take it back to the store and say, well, I didn't like it. It's tough luck.
Right.
You pay your money. It's opened.
You could sell it, GameStop, right? And sometimes Best Buy, but yeah, you can't get a full refund for something that you just didn't enjoy.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the end of the day, that's something, probably a whole nother topic, but you got to blame the consumer on that. The consumers, they're going to abuse the, bejesus out of that.
Well, yeah. And I can understand a store's position. So it's hard. But at the same time, when you can't, you know what you're getting into, but at the same time, it should scale.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So like, Elden Ring, or Dark Souls, or Demon Souls, Bloodborne even, they are going to ask a lot of you. But, if you want to be able to enjoy it too, why put the barrier up and, wall people out?
Right. In a money standpoint, that's a potential sale you don't have. But on top of it, that's also a potential person invested in your world that you don't have. Strictly because you're telling them you're not good enough.
Yeah. Okay, let's say you lower the difficulty now. Well, maybe you have a repeat customer for next time.
Right.
And you don't alienate the people who want the harder game because they can still play the way they want.
Right.
The ones that you would probably alienate are the ones who want to force other people to play a certain way. But even then, it's not affecting their game. And guess what? They're going to be mad, and then they're going to buy the next version of your game.
I was just going to say the thing. Those type of people are going to buy the game anyway. They're going to be mad no matter what you do, right? They're that type of person that is not happy unless it's done the exact way that they intend. And you can't do that. They're just not going to be happy. And they're okay with not being happy is the thing that I've noticed. A lot of people are upset to be upset. That's what makes them happy.
There are just sections of the gaming sphere where people, in, I guess, other forms of media, where people just want to be upset to be upset. They want to complain just to complain, get their voice out there, get some attention.
Yeah, but I think that's we've basically covered that. I mean, that's a very good difficulty needs to be an accessibility option, because if you have it higher or lower, it shouldn't matter, because you can if it's not difficult enough, you can always make it more difficult. Your intended focus can always be there. You don't lose the intent of the game if you have a slider. So
no, and just because you did it hard doesn't mean that everybody else should be forced to play it hard. Everybody should be able to enjoy the game they paid for.
Exactly. So thank you for joining us today. If you haven't yet, go and click and subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Did you enjoy the conversation? Let us know. Send your questions, topics, and corrections to .exe at savingcontent.com, or leave us a comment on Twitter and Facebook pages. Just search @savingcontent. If you're looking for additional in-depth gaming discussions, check out the Quick Save podcast. And remember, visit savingcontent.com for the latest news and reviews. Ed, what do we got coming up?
Well, so this week we had Grid Legends from Scott. He's got that review up. Shadow Warrior 3 also by Scott. That review is up there. We got our, like I mentioned earlier, our Recipe for Disaster early access preview, and the Food Truck Simulator demo video previews are up. I think we had a pretty good time on those, and if you watch them, stick to the end because there's some fun stuff that happens in most of those videos.
Yes.
The big one I had mentioned last time that Evan was doing, Elden Ring, that review is up. And we also have a review of Lost Ark from Ryan. And then finally, I got my Assetto Corsa Competizione review out. So that is up there as well. Give those a read. Share those. Go watch the videos. Comment on those videos. Share those videos. Tell everybody, wow, these two are really, really bad at games. Let everybody know.
And remember, Saving Content is on YouTube too. Our podcasts get posted up there along with video previews, reviews, trailers, and original content, everything and anything. Leave us a rating and a review. You can do it right in your podcast app and tell your friends about dotEXE. It'll help us grow. And truly, we really, really appreciate it. I love doing this. This is something I can hang out with my brother with and just talk about gaming. I hope other people enjoy it too. And thank you for listening. And remember, the most wasted of days is one without laughter. Good night.